Boy, there is a lot going on. It's sometimes hard to remember that along with everything that is happening right now that is important and what we see across the country, that there are a lot of other things that only weeks ago, not too long ago, were top of mind. Some of them were the issues of this pandemic, the coronavirus, the discussions about China and being held accountable possibly across the globe, and the issues of China trade. And then you also have even Obamagate, General Mike Flynn, issues there as well. And so I am so happy this morning to be joined by KT McFarland, former Trump Deputy National Security Advisor, and also has a fantastic book out called Revolution, Trump, Washington, and We the People. And she's joining us right now on Daybreak 92.5 Fox News. It's Drew Steele. Good morning. How are you?
I'm just great, Drew, and I'm so happy to be here in Florida with you. I live in New York, but came to Florida in March to visit my new grandson and stay with my daughter, Fiona McFarland, who's running for the Florida State House from Sarasota. And I decided it was so great here in Florida that I'm still here.
Well, I'll tell you, it is awesome. And, we obviously love it here. And boy, I'd love to spend a segment talking about Florida politics, because one thing we always care about, KT, is that we like our politics here in Florida. We like what's happening in Tallahassee. And when we think about others that move in, we worry, because we love to have everybody come in. We love to have everybody moving and enjoying everything about Florida, Southwest Florida. It's the politics. I think, New Yorkers and in the Northeast quarter and some of the liberal areas, it's okay. You could keep the politics there. Just come and enjoy. We got this covered. We like to think of it that way sometimes.
See, I'm one of the only New Yorkers who's come to Florida because I like the politics in Florida.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Listen, just come enjoy. That's all we're asking. We've handled this. We've got it. Just leave everything else. Leave your cares and worries behind. Speaking of cares and worries, before we get into the book, I do want to talk about and certainly General Flynn and Obamagate and so many other things. I did want to mention this because obviously the news top of mind, and I want to get your thoughts. The one thing that I think is important that maybe is being overlooked in what is happening in this country right now is that there are people, bad actors that are outside of this nation that are looking at what's happening here and thinking that they can see opportunity. I mean, I might make the case that China might look at this and love to let the world know, you see the problem with democracy? You see the problem with a constitutional republic? Do you see the problem with the United States? And might look at this and use this and make this propaganda. Your thoughts?
Well, you're exactly right. And that in fact, is one of the things that people are really not appreciating, is how the rest of the world is seeing us. China has gone around the world for a couple of years, and they've said, look, democracy's finished. America's days are over. Free market capitalism is a thing of the past. Our system is the one of the future. Authoritarian governments, state-directed capitalism, and we are going to rule the 21st century. And so they point to the stuff that's happening in America today. I mean, the Russia hoax, impeachment, both of which were frauds foisted upon the American people. And they're now looking at the riots, and they're reinforcing to say, look, Americans can't deal with the virus. America's economy is now going to tank, and America can't even govern itself. See what we've been telling you all these years? Turn away from America. Turn towards China. We're going to run the world. Yeah. And that's a pretty appealing argument they're making to some countries right now. It's a wrong argument, but it's appealing.
Right. Yeah. And unfortunately, like you said, it's wrong. And we worry about that, certainly with the politics of the day. You think about journalism, the way journalism, I use air quotes, the way things are reported, the concerns about a media that maybe stokes and continues to talk down about this president, has done it since day one, found an opportunity, has not let their foot off the gas. I mean, it is even through all of the things that you have witnessed firsthand. For example, with General Flynn, you think about General Flynn and all the things we know now, all the documents that we see. that are before them, and an opportunity for them to maybe right the wrongs of the way it has been presented to the American people for the past couple of years, and yet they won't. And you wonder sometimes why.
They're making money on it.
Yeah.
Let's call it what it is.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're making money. The media was, especially cable news, was going nowhere. I mean, even the head of CNN said, "Oh, we were really headed, for bad shape until Donald Trump came along." And so they could, by bashing Donald Trump, they're making a lot of money on it, and they're openly admitting it. So I look at the media, and like you say, journalists in quotations. They're not journalists; they're partisans, and they're partisans making money on it, along with the House Democrats, the people who have gone against Trump, the Obama officials, the intelligence community. They've all decided that Donald Trump and the revolution he presents, which is to drain the swamp, because they're the swamp.
Right.
Of course they hate him, and they're going to continue to go after him. Why? Because he's onto their game, and that's why I think it's such an important election coming up, and how, especially now with the pandemic and the economic crisis, and now the civil unrest in cities all across America, we need a strong leader, and it's not going to be Joe Biden, shrink wrapped and in the basement somewhere.
Yeah, that is true. KT McFarland joining us on Daybreak 92.5 Fox News, former Trump National Security Director, and her new book is called Revolution, and it's Trump, Washington, and We the People. I wanted to talk about General Flynn, if you don't mind, for just a second.
Sure.
I think if you were going to have a movie title for General Flynn, you might say the man that knew too much. I wonder if there's some truth to that. As far as Obamagate is concerned, I mean, as we have seen the documents and more about General Flynn, they wanted General Flynn for the longest time, and it wasn't because of the quote unquote Kislyak call and what he was trying to do and in league with Russia, but they wanted him because he did know too much, right, KT? Like as far as the Obama administration and what he knew.
They were going to find whatever reason they could to do a preemptive strike against Mike Flynn.
Yeah.
And it was really clear as his deputy, we could see it happening. The intelligence community would leak to the media every 3 days, another negative story, another attack against General Flynn. Why? Because he had made it really clear that when we came in, we would immediately look to a reorganization of the intelligence communities, and that we would immediately look into whatever abuses of power that happened, because we gave the intelligence community enormous power after September 11th, and that was the right thing to do, so that they could go after terrorists. But what happened was that the senior officials of the intelligence community of the Obama administration worked together to try to jigger the 2016 election, and then when Trump still won, they tried to really undo the effects of the 2016 election. Why? They thought the American people had made a mistake and that they were so much smarter that they would just take things into their own hands and destroy President Trump and make sure that Mike Flynn wasn't there to see what was really going on behind the curtain.
Yeah. If you don't mind me asking, you were there early on, the first, right? The Deputy National Security Director. Did you get a sense in the transition that there was something odd was afoot? Was there ever any indication around you that something just wasn't right? Like it didn't feel like a natural transition. Like you got indications that even with the FBI and what we know about James Clapper and John Brennan and everything else and all of this together, did you ever get an indication that something was wrong here?
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty clear during the transition that it was the intelligence community working with really with the media. They were leaking the stories that they wanted to the media. I mean, for example, there was one night when General Flynn and I spoke it was called the Passing of the Baton event. I write about this in my book, where we met with Susan Rice, the outgoing officials of the Obama administration, the incoming officials of the Trump administration, and it's supposed to symbolize the bipartisan nature of American foreign policy. Well, at the end of it, one of the senior Washington journalists said to me, Mike Flynn can't be he cannot be national security advisor. And I said, well, come on. He's got the president's trust. He knows the stuff. He'll be terrific.
Right.
And within 24 hours, the media started their attack on Flynn with the leaks, the transcripts that they got of this infamous phone call, which we now know was nothing,
Right.
but it was portrayed as if it was treason. And so they went after him right from the beginning. The other thing that was pretty obvious was we met on January 6th at Trump Tower with President-elect Trump and Pence and the leaders of the intelligence community, the guys you just mentioned, Clapper and
Right.
Brennan and Comey. And they basically, at the end of it, Comey pulled Trump aside. They had a private conversation, and it was the shakedown talk. It was Comey saying to Trump, we've got all this information about you, all of which was false, by the way.
Right.
It was the Steele dossier. It was weird sex stuff. And Comey was basically saying, play the game, keep me in this job, or we're going to release this to the public. And we're going to get you. We know how to get you, was basically the shakedown.
It's unbelievable, and it's another reason why I would encourage you to get her book, Revolution, Trump, Washington, and We the People. You can hear this about this story, read more about it, and so many others, and going through what has been. You have to say that, boy, without this president in office right now, so many things that we would not know, so many things that we would not see, so much has come to light. The shining light on the establishment in the swamp, like you mentioned, and can you even imagine where we would be right now? I can't. Certain people come along at certain times in history. You may say it's providence. I do, but certainly, my goodness, what else could you say, right? I mean, just to see what we've been able to see so far.
They've almost gotten away with it, but not this time.
Yeah.
Between the attorney general, between the investigation of the investigators, the stuff is coming out by the day.
Yeah.
The documents, the handwritten notes. They knew from the beginning the Russia thing was a hoax, but they were going to use it to take down Trump. And what did they do? They used it, and the consequence was for 3 years they put Americans at each other's throats. They ripped us apart over this absolute hoax that they knew was a fraud from the beginning.
Yeah.
And as you pointed out at the beginning of this conversation, our adversaries looked at this as an opportunity to take advantage of America, and look where we are now.
Yeah, and that is such a big portion of all of this that I am really concerned about, is how the rest of the world sees us, and how you have China and how they are portraying this great nation, and one that people fight to get in. They don't fight to get out, KT, as you know. It's and that's, part of it. But I do want to end with this, and I would just ask this question, and if you'd like to comment. I wonder if, even knowing everything we know about, and that you would read about in her book, Revolution, Trump, Washington, and We the People, everything that we know about what they did to General Flynn, all the things that we're seeing right now, and also with the amount of new information that is coming out and that we're seeing. I wonder if, because people are always saying, when are we going to see justice? When are we going to see handcuffs? When are we going to see all of these people, these players, something happening, some indictment, something that we could see that's tangible, that we know that justice will be served? And I'm worried about that. I wonder if instead of that, it's really going to be about legacy. That I wonder if it's more about showing what was done, that we can't let this happen to anybody, Republican or Democrat, ever again. And that what will be out there is full exposure of what happened, legacies that will be destroyed, legacies that I'm sure with Obama that would like to be held up, that will be changed, but certainly that we will see what happened in the hopes that it won't happen again. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And, I talked about this to President Trump several times in the last month or so. And he promised me in person and over the phone. And he said, I'm not going to rest until we get to the bottom of this and find out what happened and hold people responsible. Because you're right. Normally this stuff just gets brushed under the rug. Nobody, we have to protect the institutions, and nobody's ever really held accountable. This time it's too big and it's gone too far. And there's now too much information coming out for anybody to ignore it.
Yeah. All right, KT McFarland joining us on Daybreak 92.5 Fox News, former Trump National Security Director, of course, her book, Revolution, Trump, Washington, and We the People, where all your favorite books are located. It's there. And Hey, maybe next time we'll talk Florida politics. That's what we'll do. What? Maybe.
Sounds really good to me.
Does it? Or we'll
I
just
decided to move to Florida with my Floridian daughter.
yes. Or we'll just talk fine restaurants and great beaches, or some of the other great things about the state. Maybe we'll just make it light. Who knows? All right. I appreciate a few minutes. Thanks so much.
Drew Steele.